Welcome to another edition of Client Success Stories. I've got Michael Berkowitz here, and he is going to share his incredible journey to losing 9 pounds, 6% body fat, and adding on 3 pounds of muscle in the process and taking another 3 inches off his waist. And here's the kicker. He got absolutely stronger during the program as well, despite the reduction in body fat and weight. His strength score went from 1128 all the way up to 1221. Incredible stats. Michael, thank you so much for being here. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Jackson. Thanks for having me. So like you said, my name is Mike Berkowitz, 43 years old. I live up in the northern New Jersey, kind of like right on the periphery of New York City. I've been, fitness has been an important part of my life for many, many years. But I've always kind of hit this point where I just didn't know where else to go, didn't know how to get to that next level. I've had my tonal now for about 2 years and just had been following you, some of the different programming, and I think we just kind of connected online, and I finally saw a path forward to really be able to take that next leap. So appreciate that the initial conversation to kick things off, and yeah, I appreciate the kind words. I feel like I've come a long way in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, you've definitely come a long way, and your story has been an inspiring one. And we'll get into the specifics of that and kind of why in a few minutes here. But I really do want to take a step back and usually I like to go back to where you were before we started working together. So obviously you got the tonal, you're working on in tonal, you're doing my workouts and programs, which I absolutely appreciate. So thank you for the support there. But what was going on and kind of why did you feel like you wanted to take it to the next level and really, take your physique, everything to, outside the stratosphere where it's at now? What was kind of going on back then?
Yeah, it's my career has always kind of taken the front road. I have 2 daughters. I have twin daughters, 10 years old, and in the back of my mind, I'm always recognizing like how active they are, that how important it is, how important sports are to them. I love watching them, coaching them, but I'm also realizing as they get older, it's harder and harder to keep up with them and to keep up with the demands of work, of family, of their activities. I felt like I was getting to a point. I realized at the end of last year, I was up at probably the heaviest weight I had ever been. I was, solidly over 200 pounds. I don't really have a frame to be over 200 pounds, particularly with the muscle mass I had. So I started to make better decisions. But like I said, I just kind of got to this point where I was like, all right, so I lost some weight, which is good. I was getting a little bit stronger. I was definitely getting stronger, but I just kind of like plateaued. I just didn't know where else to go. And I still wasn't getting to waist was still bigger than I wanted it to be. I just couldn't figure out how to take those few inches off and frankly, how to get like the definition that I know is possible with the right balance of diet and exercise. It was just, it was the combination I just couldn't put together on my own. But I think it was really family and trying to balance how do I put myself first over particularly work and then set myself up for a good future with my raising these kids that are starting to get faster and stronger than me, it seems like.
Yeah, that's incredible. So tell me, as you're kind of going through this journey, was there, for some people, there's a moment, they look in the mirror, something happens, they get on a scale. Was there a moment for you where it was like, hey, this realization, I need to do something? Or was it just sort of a slow, almost asphyxiation where it just slowly kind of kept creeping up and you just said to yourself, hey, like, this feels like a monkey on my back, I got to do something?
The moment was when I went for a physical in December of last year. I typically try to do that at the end of the year, make sure I get everything squared away and clear going into the new year. And when I looked at that scale and it was north of 200 and not the right distribution of weight, the number means nothing. It was just, I knew that wasn't the right distribution of weight for me. Right there was what I knew in my mind I had to do something different. And I tried to make those adjustments on my own for the first quarter of the year or so. But I just kind of hit that point where I knew I wasn't going to get any more results on my own.
Yeah, I honestly commend you for taking action and doing something at that point, because so many people will see that number on the scale, or maybe they get blood work back that's not good, or they have something that's pointing in a direction they don't want to go, but they just ignore it. They kind of push it down. They pretend it doesn't exist. So I got to commend you for having the awareness and being humble enough to acknowledge that and saying, hey, I think I need to make a change here. So I do want to commend you for that. That's a tremendous. Now, as far as kind of what you were doing previously, so you're doing my workouts, you're getting stronger, you're trying to make some adjustments to your diet and your routine. Were you following specific books, advice, diets, things, or were you just sort of kind of taking it on your own and just trying to figure out what to do and making, eating healthy, etc.?
That's actually really maybe an important point. I do read a lot on fitness. The thing I found is that there's just too much information that's out there. And it's not even that it's probably all not credible. There's plenty of credible information that you can go get on your own. But there's also a lot of contradicting information. And again, in the right atmosphere, in the right circumstances, maybe all of that information is right. But it's pretty difficult if this isn't what you do 24/7 as a profession to understand how do you put all these different things together. So in my mind, even just using diet as an example, like to me, it was like, well, fewer calories, more protein, almost like at a point it was like eliminated fat and was low on carbs. I found like, yeah, I could lose some weight, but my energy levels were low. It was hard to get stronger. That's when I started plateauing on my strength score. And total is great because it gives you the data to make good decisions, but it doesn't tell you what the next decision is, right? And a pre-recorded program is not going to tell you what you need to do to get stronger. So it was really as I started, I've had, obviously when you go through a program like this, you have friends and neighbors and coworkers who are like, holy crap, like what happened? How did you do this? And early on, it's like, oh, you're losing a lot of weight, like everything okay? And, then they see a few months later, like, wow, that's crazy what you're able to do over these few months. And when you start even like as I start saying it out loud, like talking about the fact that like it's now intuitively it makes sense. Like if you're going to reduce carbs significantly, you need a source to burn. You need fat to burn. You can't cut everything and just expect that you're going to get the strength, the energy, and the right diet. So just even seeing the diet, like it made a lot of sense to me, but it just wasn't something that you figure out by reading online and trying to cobble a bunch of information together.
Yeah, totally agree. There's so much information out there and much of it is conflicting. And you have people who are trying to push certain agendas and get people in because they have this new take or this new tweak or this new thing. And, here at Action Jackson Fitness, we like to do two things. Number one, we like to filter information for our clients because I think that's what a great coach does. I've paid tens of thousands of dollars in business coaching for the simple fact of that coach is going to filter down the information I need to just the things I need to focus on and execute to move the needle in my business. Likewise, we filter that information for clients to just the things that they need to do so they have the information that they need when they need it to execute to move the needle. So filtering information is extremely important. And then the second thing that you want to do is you want to begin to get leverage in your activities. And getting leverage means that you're connecting the puzzle pieces together. You're integrating your training with your nutrition, with your mindset, and then you add in some accountability and support. It's what we call our 4 pillars of six-pack success. And it's how and why we're able to get clients the next level results that we do, because we get these things integrated together. That gives you leverage in your activities. Now, when you do your workouts, you do your nutrition, you do other things, you're getting a 10x, 20x, 30x return on that effort that you're putting in. And that's how we get people such great results. And the last thing I want to mention that you picked up on, which is when it comes to diet and nutrition, a lot of people are just sort of shooting in the dark, don't know what to do. We don't like to be dogmatic about nutrition, but we have to accomplish the simple thing of making sure that we're giving your body enough of what it needs from a calorie perspective and also getting the macro numbers right so that you can recover properly from your workouts and that you have strength and that you don't lose all of your muscle in the process, because that's a big problem for a lot of people who are on Ozempic or who are doing a ton of intermittent fasting and not doing it correctly. They lose a lot of muscle. And the second thing we need to do is still make sure we're not giving you too much so that we could stay in that caloric deficit and we could reduce the body fat. And that's how we're going to be able to walk that fine line of giving you enough of what you need to recover and stay strong and keep the muscle, but also reducing body fat. And for you, your journey was you went down pretty far in weight, almost down up to 25 pounds at one point when we were finishing up the sort of cutting phase. And then we transitioned to a little bit more muscle building and then ended up finishing the program down 9 pounds total, but reduced the body fat quite significantly by 6% while still increasing muscle mass and strength, which is really important. Now, those happened at slightly different and distinct points in the program, but we did, from totality from start to finish, it appears that we've lost muscle, built, strength and size all at the same time. So really fantastic stuff there. And I appreciate you kind of going through the bit of the dark bits. Now, before we get to the height, the peak, the amazing, we have one last thing to cover. And this is why I think your story is so inspiring for so many people. So unrelated to the program, you did experience a knee injury. I think it was something that was a chronic knee issue from a while back. Why don't you take us through the knee, kind of what's going on there, and just the story and the overcoming of that and kind of where you're at now today.
Yeah. It was a bit of a freak accident. So going back originally, I've had knee surgery before. And I was in high school, played, going from football to basketball to baseball, just this rotation over and over and over. And I did that my entire life. It just wore my knees down. I ended up needing knee surgery in high school. During COVID, looking for like an escape, I was running a lot. I'm not necessarily a runner, but I was running probably more than my legs could take. So I was kind of wearing the knee down a bit there. And then in the midst of literally a freak accident, I was having a catch with my daughter in the backyard. And I've got two dogs. One of them's much larger than the other. And the larger one, about 45 pounds, was running in a full sprint across my backyard, was looking over her shoulder, did not see that I was there. It was too late for me to move when I saw her coming at me, and I was kind of hoping she'd move at the last second. Unfortunately, she did not. She ran full speed right through my leg. And I pretty much knew in that moment something pretty bad happened. I was able to kind of like assess it for the next couple of weeks. And then during a workout, I did something that I knew something was wrong. So I went, I got an MRI, got it checked out, and there was a tear in the meniscus. The recommendation for the doctor was, let's do some therapy. Let's kind of assess it and see, because it won't heal. It won't repair itself that way, but at least, see how it is after a period of time. And if you're okay with the recovery, great. If not, you'll need surgery. So I did go through physical therapy for 8 weeks. I maybe it's worth calling out. I mean, obviously I had to change my workout quite a bit, and you were super helpful in that, helping to work around the injury versus try to work through it. The last thing I wanted to do was further damage the knee during that recovery phase. But I would tell you too, like, had this happened at other points in my life, it would have been really easy to just say, you know what, I'm going to wait for the knee to recover. I'm going to stop working out. I'm going to stop eating healthy. And that would have most likely been the route I would have taken. I think probably a route most people take. It's like, this is an easy way to an easy excuse to just give up, just to quit. I did not want to do that. I felt like I had made great progress already. I had come a long ways. And while it was, a little bit, you have those moments of disappointment because you can't work quite as hard and you can't burn calories at the rate that you were doing full body exercises and cardio and everything else. But I was still able to, again, maintain and increase that strength, still stick to the right diet, and continue to get strong in other places. So I try to keep as positive an attitude as I can throughout. And now on the short horizon, I will be having surgery. I'll continue to work, around that during the recovery period. But I do look forward to being in, a good mindset when I come back and getting back to doing what I was doing before the injury.
Yeah. So one of the mantras that we, I want to say thank you for sharing that, obviously, and being open and being honest here. I really do appreciate it. But one of the mantras we have here is progress, not perfection. And we say it over and over and over again, because you're not going to be perfect all the time. Your health is not going to be perfect. The diet's not always going to be perfect. But if we can make progress, we can compound things, and we could really, do a lot of good and really make some huge improvements. And for you, the reason I'm bringing that up is because I want to talk about this mindset that you had during the course of the program. Obviously, you're not 100%, physically. So you're having to deal with the knee. We worked around the knee. Never want to work through an injury. You always want to work around an injury, because working through that whole no pain, no gain, when it comes to injury pain, that is not the mantra you want to have. So we always work around the injury. We made adjustments where necessary. We lowered weight when necessary. We even did, I think, one phase of upper body only, because that's what was required at that time to keep you going and keep you moving forward without obviously regressing or even plateauing. So we made the necessary adjustments. I think that's one of the benefits, obviously, of a customized approach, or having somebody that's helping, is helping giving you the guidance so that you can stay on track during a difficult period like that when you want to throw your arms up. But that's the thing I want to get to, is how did you manage to not just wave the white flag, not just throw the towel in, not just go ham on the diet and say, who cares, whatever, and stick with it and get the incredible results that you got. And I was going through our Facebook, our private Facebook group for our clients, and there was some days there where you posted and said, hey, I'm not feeling great today. I got some bad news from the doctor that I'm going to have to go in for surgery. This is really tough today. But then I also saw you post in those same days, I got my workout in, did 15,000 pounds today, did 20,000 pounds on my upper body today. How did you manage to stay in it, to keep even a neutral mindset, let alone a positive mindset, and continue to take steps forward during a pretty tough period? How did you do that?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think probably one of the most unique things about the program is the community, that Facebook community that you said. And it's not maybe entirely unique. I'm sure there's other programs where they have a group. Even overall, there's an overall tonal community, and there's tonal dads and things like that. But there is something about this, people that are going through like the same level of intensity over a short period of time. You could feel that the connection is much closer. I mean, there's people that I trade messages with constantly that I've never met. I probably may never meet, unless by some, coincidence. But you do end up getting very close with these people, and inspired by some of their stories as well. There's been others in the group who have, experienced more severe injuries, have also persevered, and I'm sure they had their tough days as well, right? It's just human nature. I mean, you got to work around it. You got things at work that aren't always easy. But I do think that group has made it a huge impact on being able to just kind of keep my head up. And it's actually almost crazy. I mean, there were times even through the injury where I was able to do leg workouts, but just obviously much different, and careful about which exercises I did. But there was, a week in the heart of the injury where I had the most volume I've ever done on tonal. I did the month while injured. That was the most volume I've ever done on tonal. So that required working harder. I mean, and maybe changing my mindset a bit to get those workouts in, and not being able to do cardio. So the focus on maybe, starting to bulk up a little bit, put more muscle on, had to kind of adapt in the situation. But I would say that the community that surrounds this program makes a huge difference.
Man, that's inspiring, Michael, and thank you for sharing that. And I think you're right. Community is a huge part, but your mindset is a huge part too. And you have been able to adapt and overcome and change. And it is super inspiring, and it's just incredible, because there's so many obstacles that we're going to face, not only on a health and fitness journey, if you're going through a program like this, but just in life in general. And you always have two ways of looking at the situation. You could look at it as, this is extremely detrimental, this is going to prevent me from moving forward, or I can adapt and overcome, and this could be the best thing for me in a different way. So, I mean, to take Jocko Willink and his mantra here, it's, hey, got a knee injury? Good. Upper body needed some work. And you go set some crazy numbers and put up PRs for your volume for upper body. And that's just so incredible and inspiring. And you really have to ask yourself, right? If you want to move forward in life, if you want to get to the next level, you're going to have to overcome many of these obstacles. And what's the choice? It's either sit on the couch and do nothing, or set some PRs for the upper body and maybe add on some muscle to the biceps and fill out the shirt sleeves a little bit more. It's like, I'll take that any day of the week. And you did that. It's not easy, but you did it. And that's incredibly inspiring. So I want to thank you so much for being an inspiration to me and being an inspiration to so many other people in the group. And of course, I'm sure a massive inspiration to your family and coworkers and friends and everything in the process as well. So now that we've kind of gotten over that stuff, let's talk about some of the good stuff. You posted that photo I saw in the Facebook group, your family on the beach, you're looking shredded. What was that like? The comments, everything you mentioned on social media, people were like, holy cow, you look amazing. Was that like the reveal photo or what was that?
That was probably the first time like the broadest group saw me in that state. And I was at a fantasy football draft actually like a week ago. And it was a bunch of friends from college who have seen me over the years up and down. Like weight has gone up and down throughout the years. And there's been times when I've been in pretty good shape, but I had probably like 7 or 8 people who were like, I don't understand. Like, what, you're 43 now. Like, what are you doing? And, most of them are probably 10 pounds to up to 50 pounds overweight. They haven't found that balance of how do you stay in shape while still working crazy, because it's kind of the time in life where you got to work hard and family to raise and everything else. So I think even there was probably some people that were, we'll see what happens, but were inspired to like figure out how to get into better shape based on that. And then it was interesting too, even a lot of like closer neighbors and people that I see week in and week out, like they have seen me over the course of the 16 weeks and the progression. And I've got some that are probably much more into fitness that now like seek it out. I want to have a conversation about, what I'm doing, what the mindset is, et cetera, throughout. And with the injury, like, I don't even understand you're getting ready to have surgery. How are you still managing to stay in shape? So yeah, it was pretty cool to experience that over the right months, over the summer too. You've got some opportunities for people to kind of see the transformation a bit.
Yeah, the transformation is eye-popping, head-turning, and incredible. I mean, you look fantastic on the beach. You look like you're ready for the cover of Men's Health. I mean, you got the abs popping, the obliques. There was that one photo that you posted in the group. You got the twist going too. I mean, it's perfect, man. It looks amazing. But thank you for being such an inspiration to so many people, and that's just incredible. And as my good friend Tony Horton likes to say, aging is just for those people who aren't willing to put in the work to slow it down. And I mean, I feel like you've almost reverse aged at this point, looking from your start photos to obviously the end. You look incredible. And being in your 40s, I'm in my 40s. I just turned 41. So, I mean, why not? When I was younger, people always used to say, oh, when you're 25, you'll see. And then it became when you're 30, you'll see. And then when you're 35. And then it was like when you're 40. And now nobody says anything to me anymore, because it's just like, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. And I'm not interested in going backwards or being anything else. I'm just going to continue to get better. And heck, we just brought up Tony Horton. He's 64. I think he's 65 now. I just spoke to him the other day and he's still going strong. He looks fantastic. He's got a 6-pack still and he's in incredible shape. And it's like, we can continue to get stronger and we can continue to get better if we age. And if you think that aging is a good thing, it will be, because that's a mindset. And a mindset is so important because it shapes your behaviors. It's not the thought that aging is favorable or aging is good or I'm going to age like a fine wine. It's not just that thought that makes the difference. It's that thought then changes your behavior. And then that makes you eat healthier. That makes you do the workouts. That makes you take those things seriously, invest in coaching or something like this as well. And then that has the outcome. So it's the combination of the thought and then the action that thought leads to. So that's why mindsets are so powerful and so helpful. And that's why people who think favorably about aging live on average 7 years longer than those people who think negatively about aging. Powerful stat. Got that one from the Upside of Stress book, which is a fantastic book. And that'll reframe your mindset on stress too. So Michael, as we kind of like get towards the end here, what else do you want to share in terms of your journey? What were some of the obstacles maybe that you faced outside of the knee that we already talked about? Were there other obstacles that you faced along the way that you overcame? And if so, how did you do it?
Yeah, I remember in our kind of like the kickoff call, even before we had committed to one another, right? It's a commitment both ways. There's a lot of work that you and your team have to put in. And I actually appreciate that part of the process. It's like, make sure that whoever comes into the program is in the right mindset, has the right, the ability to do what needs to get done, because it's not easy, right? I mean, hard work is hard for a reason. But I remember you asking me like, how, like, can you literally commit to it? Like, do you have the bandwidth with work or everything else that's going on to be able to do it? Like, if you're going to be out of the country for 8 weeks straight, probably going to make it hard to do a program. And I remember looking out on the horizon in my calendar. I'm like, well, it's always busy. It's never going to be, but I'm in a position where I could get up at 5 a.m. and get my workouts in and still do what I need to do. There was nothing crazy in the way. And then life happens, right? And then, the next sports season starts and you go through something major at work and you get a project that you weren't expecting. And I had a few examples of that. I mean, work got super intense, probably 6 to 8 weeks into the program, to the point where like twice as many hours, stress levels through the roof. And again, it's another opportunity to just say, you know what, maybe I'll pause. I'll get back to this 8 weeks from now. But we both know, and anybody who's listening knows, that never happens. You put it off. It just gets easier to put it off. It gets easier to not get back into it. And then you get to this stepping on the scale north of 200 pounds and questioning what you've been doing for the last 6 months. So I would actually say, like, having had made the commitment, even going through a pretty tough period, again, work, personal, there's always stuff that comes up. It was probably what got me to just say, you know what, I'm going to find the time. And I did have travel, and again, you were super helpful in finding, workouts for the hotel, being able to do things on the run, like just no excuses. Like, there's just no reason not to be able to get a workout in, and not an easy workout. Like, you don't need a whole lot of equipment to get in an intense workout, to put up a lot of volume and get, similar effects that you get from doing the programming on tonal. So that was the commitment I made to myself, was times got tough. It's just, don't let that be a reason to stop. Like, let it be the reason that should be the escape. Like, work's getting harder. Like, maybe this is even more of a reason to work harder on yourself, so that you have that escape. Even if it's just, 45 minutes to an hour, when most of the world is still sleeping.
Wow, I love that mindset right there. The mindset of, when things get hard or things get tougher, I get better. And I try to repeat that to myself constantly, especially in the midst of like a workout, because then that bleeds into other areas. So as the workout gets tougher, let's say we're doing metabolic training, heart rate's going, your mind is like racing with fears, like, oh my gosh, you're going to the next thing. And I'm like, I get calmer, I get more focused, I get more dialed in, I lock in. Jackson, here you go. I'm talking to myself in the third person. I'm coaching myself during my own workouts. And I just love that, because then when you're in life and work gets crazy, things happen, personal demands, responsibilities, all this stuff, you start repeating that mantra to yourself again as well. Things get tougher, I get better, I lock more in. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe you don't have to shorten your workout, or you have to change your work out in a hotel, whatever it is. You make the adjustments you need to, but to your point, you keep the commitment. And what that does is it creates this identity that I'm not somebody who skips my workouts, I'm not somebody who makes excuses, and I'm somebody who follows through on my commitments. And that's so important, because as you mentioned, so many people will use it as a crutch or as an excuse, and then they'll deviate from the path. They'll hit the pause button. They'll take the freeway exit. They'll go off and they'll say, I'll get back to this later. And to your point, we both know that's not going to happen. And then what ends up happening is they condition their mind that they're not somebody who follows through. They're not somebody who follows through on their commitments. They're not somebody who can trust themselves. And they're not somebody who doesn't miss their workouts. And then they basically create the identity they don't want. And now they're sitting there saying, well, why am I out of shape? Why am I not healthy? Why am I not as fit as I want to be? Well, because you just conditioned yourself to do it through your actions, and now the identity that you created for yourself. So I love that you made the commitment, that you stuck with it, that you kept moving forward. Progress, not perfection. And you really helped reshape that identity. From like a mental mindset standpoint, and kind of just moving forward from here, like, how do you feel like you're set up to move forward from here? Because that's one of the things people often say is, you do a program like this. Okay, great. Well, you get abs, you get the six pack, you do these things, but is it going to last? So that's kind of the next thing I want to briefly touch on is how do you feel like you're set up for the future to kind of move forward from here?
Yeah, if anything, the maybe the best return on the investment is the fact that it's not something that you can't continue to build on and to use. So now I know how to dial in on the weight. I know how to program my workouts better on my own. I can pull different levers to get the result I want in the moment I want it. And again, you still have this community you can lean back into and get recommendations and get support and get motivation, right? There's no reason if you're having a rough day, just go look at the 10 or 12 people that just put up the biggest numbers they've ever put up, right? And get back on it. But I think just honestly, like that was the missing piece was like, how do you put these different pieces together that I now have? That's not something that I need to recreate. And again, times can get difficult or who knows. And that's probably one of the biggest things too. Like you have a rough day, like don't let that be the reason to fall off the wagon. Just get back to the program, get back to the diet and get back to your workouts. And, it's easier. The longer you let things slip, the harder it is to get back. But if you know how to dial it back in, and there's weeks where like, I'll be traveling the whole week. You're forced to eat every meal out, and I can make better decisions. I know how to order out better now than I did before. But it's still not perfect. You're not in the kitchen. You're not seeing the measurement of every ingredient that's in there. So you have to make good decisions, but you come back from sometimes a week like that and you've got a lot of water weight and it can be discouraging, but then again, I have the ability to dial that back in and know what I can do on my own once I get better control of the situation. So that's been super helpful. And I think that's what sets me up so that, I don't get back to a state where I'm looking at the scale and saying, I don't understand what happened. I can get to, a bad day or two and know exactly what I need to do to get back on track.
I love that because it gives you confidence and it gives you trust in yourself. And then it allows you not to live your fears and come back and get all freaked out. Like one of the guys in the group who just posted, you probably saw it, went to, I think, Breckenridge on a bachelor party, came back, he was 9 pounds heavier because he's just drinking whiskey the whole time. And he was a little, fear-based, a little scared. But I said, hey, just focus on the process. Don't stress. Don't worry. You don't go extreme in the other direction. We're not going to go eat 500 calories a day now for the next week. Just reset yourself. It's almost like meditation, right? This is like physical meditation. In meditation, the goal is to constantly bring yourself back to your mantra, your breath, your heart rate, whatever it is that you're trying to focus on. And we're doing the same thing. We're just bringing our habits back to the good, healthy fitness habits we want. And he did that, focused on the process, dialed it in, lost the 9 pounds in a week. No big deal afterwards, but that really proved to himself a couple of things. One, not to lean into his fears. The second, that he can trust himself and he knows how to get back from those situations. And third, now he knows how to make some adjustments if he's on a bachelor party again, so that he hopefully doesn't come back 9 pounds heavier. So it's just about that constant small iteration and improvement. Again, progress, not perfection. You're the embodiment of that, Michael. So thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for sharing your story. I just want to acknowledge you again and just say thank you so much for trusting me, for investing in yourself, for all your hard work, for everything you've done, and for being just such an incredible inspiration. Your journey's been very inspiring to me and to many others. And I just want to thank you again. Any last words, things you want to share, mantras, mindsets, anything you want to throw out there for people as we kind of wrap up here?
Yeah, first, no, thank you. I mean, I know you have folks on your team that are doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and it looks seamless and it looks easy, but I know there's a lot of work that goes into it, managing a community of this size. So thank you for that. And honestly, I would say to anybody who's on the fence, like wherever you are in your fitness journey, I mean, if you're a beginner that's never put up weight before, or you're someone that, again, I consider myself someone that was probably on the upper end of understanding fitness for not being, in the industry, there's huge benefits regardless of where you are on that spectrum. And unless it's what you do 24/7, professional coaching will help you advance. It will help you perform better. It'll help you get into better shape and look better. So I would recommend it to anyone, but just make sure you got the right mindset going into it. You have to be ready to make that personal commitment, because if you're not, you're wasting your own time. You're wasting the time of people around you, and you're just going to be disappointed. So if you're there, if you've got your mind in the right place, there's a whole lot of benefit no matter where you are on that spectrum, from from investing in coaching like this program.
Yeah, I mean, like they say, even Michael Jordan had a coach, right? Tom Brady has a coach. Michael Jordan didn't become the Michael Jordan we all know until Phil Jackson got there and was able to take him to the next level. And he started to rely on and embrace his teammates and the people around him, the community, the support systems to level himself up. And I think that's what we try to do in the group, right? We have the good coaching, we have other resources, we have the community, we have that support. But the next thing you mentioned, and this is the last thing we'll touch on before we wrap up here, is being ready for that commitment. So many people take years, sometimes decades, just to decide to make the change and focus on the solution instead of focusing on the problem. When you focus on the problem, you magnify the problem, right? It gets bigger and bigger and more daunting, and it seems like more detrimental and impossible to overcome. When you focus on the solution, though, it changes your thinking. Your reticular activating system changes. You start to see options, tactics, strategies that can help you improve. And whether that's joining a coaching program like ours, or maybe implementing your own kind of protocols, picking up a book and reading it, whatever it might be, but it changes your thinking. And it also changes the energy and then the outcomes that you get. I'll tell this very quick story. Me and my wife, we had this, I'm not going to say the cable company. We had this cable company that we had. And the cable, old school cable, I mean, it's horrible. You got this box, you got all these wires, you got all this stuff. And every time we go down there, I swear it never worked. It was like, what? It's not working today. We got to reset the box and we got to do this. We got to do that. The remote's not working. I mean, it was just always, but we just don't watch enough TV that it was painful enough that I ever made the decision to say, I'm going to fix this. And finally, one day I went down there, and I don't remember what I was trying to watch. Maybe we were trying to watch like 90 Day Fiance or something. It's not working. And I just got so frustrated. I said, I'm fixing this. And I spent 2 hours researching options and then finding out how to return the cable. Just 2 hours, not a ton of time, 2 hours focused entirely on the solution, not the problem. And after 2 years of dealing with this crappy cable system, I solved that problem in 2 hours. I figured out exactly how to package it up, how to return it. I called the company, I dropped it off. I signed up for Sling TV, and bam, we had an app, no cable, no box, no problems. Everything solved in 2 hours only, focused on the solution. But that's the difference between spending 2 years just in this indecision land, focusing on the problem, never committing. And then once I committed, 2 hours, problem solved, over and done. That's how it works. Incredible. So thanks again, Michael. I appreciate everything. And remember, action's the difference between dreaming and succeeding. I'll see y'all later.